What is going on, everybody? Happy May the 4th to each and every one of you. I'm Sean, going to be hosting tonight. Given my partner in crime the night off of hosting, he's busy stealing the Millennium Falcon from, I'm going to say Han Solo and not Rey. Just gonna go with that, and people can read into that what they will.
I mean, wouldn't it be stealing it from Lando right now?
I can't tell which version of it is. I'm on my phone, so.
I'm just timelining, not versioning, but that makes sense too.
Like in line with Maul.
It could be somewhere in between 6 and 7, stealing it from Unkar Pludd or the Irving Boys or anybody else.
Ooh, look at those deep references. All right, what's going on, Zach? How you been, buddy?
Man, I've been busy. I've been hustling. Those of you who have seen past episodes know that I do local broadcasting as well as these international podcastings, and my baseball teams that I cover just wrapped up their season last week. So we're getting into the process of potentially moving over the summer. We're going to do some traveling over the summer. So there's still a lot of life to be lived. It's just going to be lived in different ways. But yeah, baseball season ended last week. So time to shift gears.
Joining us on this May the 4th special, it's the Grand Moff himself. Moff. There we go.
The Grand Moff. So Mothra, are you gonna fight Bashira?
Mon Mothra. What's going on, Randy?
Not a lot. Just happy to be able to enjoy some Star Wars content with you guys today, because May the 4th has always been a fun day. We got to see the finale for Maul. We're this much closer to, I know you guys aren't as excited as probably as I am for Mando Grogu, but of course we also still have Ahsoka Season 2 later this year. And hopefully some cool stuff came out today because it is May the 4th. So, but yeah, I'm pretty excited to break this down because I was pretty impressed with the final 2 episodes.
Listen, I'm excited to take my kid to see The Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm excited to meet up with Johnny because we don't get to see each other very much anymore. Same with Kieran, who's not on tonight. I'm at least more excited to see that movie than the movie I was forced to watch for a second time on the weekend, aka Scream 7. Thank you to my oldest son, Zach, for that. I'm still feeling awful from watching that abyss. Also joining us, Johnny V. He's here, there, and everywhere. There you go. I already stole it.
That's right. I am that indeed. I gotta say, until Randy mentioned Mandalorian and Grogu, I forgot that was even this month. So that tells you how excited I am for that movie. Nah, dude, I'm happy to be here to talk about these last two episodes. It's it's May the 4th, guys. I mean, come on. It's great to have relevant things to talk about on May the 4th that aren't just us, speculating wildly on how bad the movie we're gonna watch at the end of this month is gonna be. So I'm glad to talk about something good today.
And being that it's May the 4th, it's only appropriate that we kick off with a Halloween update. Let me get this thing out of the way right now because I've been asked about it a bunch. This is where this TV series stands. I think this is as clear as I can make this. Had some conversations towards the end of last week. I wish I could sit here and say there's something positive, but I mean, there is something positive. Halloween is the game, quite frankly, looks better than I think most of us thought it was going to look. There's your positive spin. Here's your negative spin. And I'm going to drag Zach into this because I do think he can provide some light on this from a business perspective.
No, he cannot.
Look, Alex Jaffe, who's the new head of Miramax TV and has been for about a year now, she has literally not said a single fucking thing about this TV series publicly at all. So again, this isn't speculative. Right now, we're dealing with facts. Jaffe has not said a damn thing, not even acknowledged it. There, in an official capacity, is no official script. Doesn't mean there hasn't been some submitted. There's no official writer attached to it. There's no official showrunner attached to it. The last update we heard was Miramax and Trancas were having creative differences on the direction of the show, and it might not only be creative differences, but rather financing the show as well, which is a problem. And that has other implications because again, if you've read the Taking Shape books, you have an idea on the history here. This isn't all too uncommon, although the track we're going down this time is a different track because they've never attempted to do a TV series before. Here's the problem. They had 2 or 3 different people or studios bidding for the rights for this TV series. And I was on this channel almost 3 years ago now saying how I did not want it to end up with Miramax. And the reason why was because they already co-own the rights to the film franchise, meaning you cannot get a film off the ground without both Trancas and Miramax on board. Now, Zach has a successful broadcasting career, which he does football, he does baseball. Am I wrong in saying, have you done soccer too?
We've done soccer and basketball.
Okay, so I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. So let's say Zach is selling his right to broadcast these games to these different competitors, right? And he has, I'm going to simplify this a bit. He has someone in football and someone in baseball. And let's say he has a contractual obligation already to the broadcast with football. But then he goes and signs a deal for the broadcast with baseball, and it just so happens to be from the exact same place. But then Zach and the same place that owns both football and baseball, let's say the baseball side of things, cannot agree on what direction to take things, whether it's financially, creatively, technically. And if it's the same organization that he's having issues with on the baseball side, Zach, is it not then pretty obvious to say you may encounter some problems on the football side if it's the same people involved?
Yeah, I would say the short answer to the convoluted question is You've got to have consistency with your branding. That's been my MO from day one is I've got a logo, I've got a way of presenting things on my YouTube streams. I've got a certain color scheme that I use, and I make sure that it's consistent on all platforms, across all social media, across all sports. I make sure that it stays consistent so that you know what kind of quality to expect and where to expect it from. And so the when becomes less of an issue because they're two different sports in two different times of the year. But yeah, I mean, if ESPN used one color scheme for one sport and then used another color scheme for another sport, it wouldn't look like ESPN anymore. And so if we're going in that sports related vein, um, you have to have some consistency, and you have to make it something that is appealing to all fronts, to all demographics, so that you feel safe in the assurance that the people that are covering basketball are the same people that are covering baseball, that are the same people that are covering football, and to shuffle it back to the movie and TV regards, uh, if if the same company is not producing the same consistent output on all their social media, at all the administrative levels, at all of their different studios, then yes, it's absolutely going to send mixed signals and mixed messages. And if I was deeper into the franchise than I am, I'm a passive observer at this point. But if I'm a bigger fan, I'm genuinely concerned now about the future of the films because of the inconsistent way that the television is being handled. Does that make sense?
100%, 100%. And if you have one of those sides, doesn't matter which one, and I'm not going to sit here and claim to know which one is the aggressor causing the issues. It could be both sides causing the issues. But if they're not getting along and seeing eye to eye and being able to get on the same page on the TV series, chances are they're not magically going to be getting along on the film. Should there be a 50th anniversary film in 2028? Yes, it absolutely sells itself. It's the 50th anniversary. Will there be any more? I mean, it's a horror movie. There's still tons of time for that to get off the ground. But boy, oh boy, I sit there and I think about the Friday the 13th franchise and all the behind the scenes creative differences that have led to no film since 2009 when Derek Mears wore the mask. Um, I'm not saying Halloween's at that point, far from it. Um, but it's kind of like the super light version of that right now. And if they don't figure out the shit soon, their shit soon, not only are you going to be waiting a long time for the TV series, maybe until the rights lapse, by the way, but your 50th anniversary film, which should be an absolute given, very well might not happen. And for the record, there was supposed to be a Halloween 25th anniversary film. You can read about it in Taking Shape. And once again, that did not happen because, drum roll please, creative differences. So I wish the update was more positive. I will say this, I think you're getting a really good video game that's probably going to be a lot better than people thought. For the non gamers, obviously they don't care. I feel for them. Uh, but as long as this stuff keeps happening, I do think you'll see Trancas try to pursue other creative content options, whether it's novels, comics again, etc., to appease Halloween fans. But we know everybody either wants a TV series or a movie. It's just not looking good on that front. Now that could change in a month with a phone call, right? And they're on the same page. But if the problems are not just creative and they're financial problems as well, well, then you're into a whole other issue that is not good. But that is our Halloween update for today. Zach, thank you for giving us that detailed answer and partaking in that. without much preparation. I really appreciate that.
I've learned how to BS on the fly on this show.
Alrighty. Well, speaking of BS, one show that's not BS is the Maul Shadow Lord
I'll tell you what is
show.
BS.
I think. Go ahead.
What's BS is the plot armor. I still hate the plot armor on this show. Everything else was great, but the plot armor pissed me the hell off.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever you do anything that involves characters that you know and isn't like the furthest point in a timeline, you're gonna get plot armor. Unfortunately, the prequels are filled with it, and um, that part's never going away. As long as Star Wars wants to keep doing stuff in eras that I guess are any time before Episode 9 at this point, and they're characters that we know, there's going to be some level of plot armor. But let's dive into it. Episode 9, Maul Shadow Lord. Full spoilers here, by the way. Zach, you started us off with the plot armor, so I'm going to go to Randy first here. Dude, just give me your full detailed breakdown on the episode, spoiler filled. What did you like? What didn't you like? And is there anything you want to put out there in the ether for anyone else to answer?
So I really enjoyed the episode a lot. I liked the tension in it. Yeah, there's obviously plot armor, but it's just the setup, the everything that happened. The action was top notch. The music, the sound design, just the animation. It really just felt so anxiety driven and so tense. Even though it's like Maul's going to survive. You know that Devin has to survive for season 2. Like there was something about this episode where it felt like once it got going, it was just nonstop to the very end, where we get not only do we get to see Maul lose just about everybody that was faithful to him, that he actually had some sort of either respect or held in a higher regard for, but that reveal at the end, uh, I legit, when the Inquisitors were like, let him know they're coming his way, and I went, wait a minute, no, they're not doing this already, are they? And sure as shit, watching Rook get sucked into nothingness, hearing the disgusting neck snap, and then the breathing. My eyes were as big as saucers. My jaw dropped. And then that was the end of the episode. And I was like, I can't stop now. It was that moment where I was just like, the one thing that you said you were hoping to see, and you got to see it right before you got to see it these last 2 episodes. And yeah, it's, since we're just talking about 9, but it's just the whole setup for it all. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about, okay, who's gonna, is Docky gonna bite it? And that's really the only person I was even thinking about at the time. I didn't really think about all of Maul's companions. And so that all took me by surprise, but it was a good surprise. It was one of those types of things where I'm more looking at the characters that I've really grown attached to versus the side characters who are there and actually mean something to one of the characters versus kind of how I viewed them. I was just like, damn, they're sacrificing themselves for him, which shows a lot about what Maul means to them, or it's just out of fear, one of the two. But I had a lot of fun with this episode, and I like the surprises, even if it's more surprise deaths than it really was just surprises. And then, of course, the setup for the finale, I just was through the roof. So I'll ask you, Sean, did you see Vader showing up at the end of this, or were you thinking we were going to get him in season 2?
Do you remember when we started this? Zach hosted our very first episode, episodes 1 and 2, and I said, I can't remember if it was on air or as we were getting ready to go on air, that I seen 2 spoilers because someone went on and fucking posted shit, and it wasn't just like a this could happen. It was literal visual spoilers. Uh, and one was I knew Dryden Voss was in it, and the other one was I knew Vader was in it. But I didn't know what context Vader was in it too, right? Like I just knew that he was in it. You know those character posters they release each episode? Well, they were already fucking out. They whoever made them let them leak, and someone went on Facebook on a Facebook group, a pretty well run Facebook group too, but that one clearly slipped past the cracks, and I just like, great, awesome, thanks for spoiling that. But as the story was going, I didn't necessarily think there was room for what happened in specifically episode 10 to happen narratively, and yet they found a way to make it work and, in my opinion, fit. Johnny, I'm not going to say you were full Andor on this series, man, but I've watched you start from maybe not the bottom, but pretty low, and you have steadily gone up, 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 and away to steal from Superman. In terms of your scores throughout this, it seems like you've grown to appreciate the series more. Did that continue in episode 9, and if so, why?
I mean, it is definitely, like I said, with the exception of the 2 episodes we didn't do, so it was the 5 and 6. Everything
The
has
worst
been,
ones, in my opinion.
yeah, everything has been pretty steadily climbing upwards in quality, with the exception of those 2 episodes where things kind of flattened out for 2 episodes. Yeah, no, it definitely continued improving. There wasn't really anything I was, particularly shocked by. I mean, as soon as they did the they're going his way, the only him was Vader. There was no other choice. So I wasn't in any way surprised by it at that point, because as soon as they said that, that's what my expectations turned to. We've kind of been speculating and discussing and theorizing that might be what this is building towards, and it obviously was. So I wasn't shocked when it happened. If anything, like, if the one thing the series has had going for it has been the visuals, and I will say that in this episode there were definitely parts of that kind of let me down a little bit. And again, now this is just me, so this could just be a me issues. I know I was having issues with Disney Plus buffering off and on through the entirety of when I watched the episode, so I mean, it could just be a buffering quality thing that just happened on my end. I won't discount that as a possibility, but there were a couple shots in that should have looked much more crisp and clean than I thought they ended up being, and I was a little disappointed by that. Specifically, the fog right before Vader showed up. I thought that looked kind of corny and cheesy, and again, that could have just been an issue on my viewing experience.
No, I don't think it was an issue on your viewing experience, because
Okay.
if you were to take the time and really quickly go back and watch him come out of the fog and ignite the lightsaber at the end of episode 9, they show it again in episode 10.
Okay,
Watch
so
them back to back.
that's exactly
Episode
what it
10
was
is
then.
way higher quality.
Okay, so it wasn't just me then. So because those were the 2 moments exactly that I was referring to. It was the fog building up to it, and then when he ignited the lightsaber and you saw his face, because I thought that looked like shit in the actual episode. Now, I didn't watch the recap because I just hit skip recap because I'd literally just watched it, so I didn't see it there. So I didn't see the improvement in episode 10, but those were the 2 things I was talking about quality-wise that let me down. But like story-wise, I thought everything was great. It built to the moment at the end of episode 9 nicely. You got some glimpses, and there was definitely a lot of fun interplay between the characters that I thought was more fun. Like the interactions between Daki and Maul and future Talon, I thought were fun. Like I enjoyed that sort of push and pull between those 3 characters a lot more than I thought I would going into it. What I thought was going to be more comical turned out to be more serious and more fun, in a way I wasn't expecting. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. Overall, I thought it was great. The action pieces were all in service of pushing the story forward. I enjoyed it a great deal. You know, it's been building to it was like I said back in like episode 4, I think, when the Empire first showed up. Now is where the story really starts. And it was, and they built those last few episodes up towards where you're wondering, you know, are the Inquisitors it? Is that where the story's gonna, you know, are they the top for season 1? And then you keep going up, and then you get Darth freaking Vader. And if there's one battle that the Star Wars as a fandom has kind of sat on their hands, like, man, I really love to see those two go toe to toe, it has always been, you know, Anakin and Maul. And you know, I don't want to say they didn't disappoint, but you know, since we're just mostly on 9 right now, I'll leave that thoughts for that one for next. But you know, building towards that moment I thought was fantastic, and I enjoyed it.
Zach, if I recall correctly, your feelings on the series have been kind of up and down, and I know you've spoken rather openly about not needing any more Darth Maul content. You haven't hid those feelings. How do you feel about episode 9 as the penultimate episode of season 1?
You know, I will give credit where it's due. They have provided a bit more depth to Maul's character than what we saw in the Clone Wars. He was very narrow-minded and seems to have a bigger vision now, a bigger picture, and an understanding of what it takes to achieve that. Um, Not quite as narrow-minded as he was before. So I give him props for that. That's been something that has slowly evolved over the season, and I just haven't been on for recent episodes to say that. So I'll start with that. Secondly, I will say that episode 9 in particular gave us a lot of things that we have not gotten before in either Bad Batch or Clone Wars or Rebels, any kind of the recent animation projects. And while it still suffers from plot armor, and I'm going to harp on that all night, so get your popcorn or get your tequila shots ready every time I say it. But in spite of that, they do still provide some really cool fight sequences and some really important stakes because Maul has had these mercenaries working with him for the entire season. And basically, by the end of 9, they're all gone. They're all wiped out. And we are forced to see what he's able to do on his own. He's had forces, he's had influence, he's had power, control, all these things. And it's been gradually chipping away over the course of the whole show to the point that by the time Vader shows up, it's gone. He has nobody left by his side except for Jedi, which is like an enemy of my enemy is my friend type of deal more than anything. But the people that are truly invested in him and his vision and his goal and his purpose, they're all dead. And the way that they killed them off was really, really fascinating because I don't believe we have seen a battle that takes place over a pit of acid before. I thought that was very creative. I thought that was very unique because you're not just falling into water where some, giant creature could gobble you up or whatever. The second any appendage hits that, you're done for. And to see troopers falling in that way, to see one of the Zabrak brothers fall in that way, to see the Spybot droid getting destroyed and falling into the acid. There were a lot of stakes surrounding that acid lake, and it was interesting to see how the environment impacted the outcome of the battle in a way that we've never seen before. And by the time they escaped from that area, they suffered some serious losses and they had some serious issues up ahead. And it's literally out of a frying pan into the fire type of situation because as soon as you get away from the Inquisitors, the endless stormtroopers, the vat of acid, boom, you're hit with a Sith Lord. And so um, this episode doesn't really give you a chance to catch your breath. And I liked that about it. You are constantly bombarded with high stakes, high action, and I like that in my shows. So to get it here on this episode was a treat, and I liked it.
Were you at all surprised about the Vader moment at the end?
Not really. I don't think you spoiled it for me, but it felt inevitable that Vader was going to show up at some point, and so I liked seeing him appear at the end, and I did get excited at it. My blood pressure did spike a little bit because aside from like a brief moment at the end of the final season of the Clone Wars, we really haven't seen very much of Vader in this Clone Wars animation style. And so it was like a blending of Clone Wars. Hello.
I don't know what's going on here. He's
That
Hello.
back,
was
though.
odd.
Was that just me or
Yeah.
was that everybody?
Just you on my end.
Yeah, just you on my end too.
That's odd. Sorry. But
Damn
seeing Vader,
Falcon.
I'll blame the Falcon. I had to like reach up
You
and
had to jump the
hit it.
light speed, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to reach up and hit the door jam in order to make everything reactivate. But seeing Vader was cool, but not entirely unexpected.
Yeah, I thought the episode was really well done. To echo Zach's comments, I thought from the beginning of the episode to the end, I want to say it was around, in terms of actual runtime, probably like 23 minutes or so. Like, there is no opportunity to catch your breath in this episode at all. It's the foot's down on the gas and it's not letting up, and it's not even letting up at the end. Um, really well done. I think this show has done a really wonderful job. Well, there might be plot armor for guys like Vader, the one Inquisitor Ahsoka kills. I'm still convinced the other Inquisitor can die because I think right now I don't know if he's human or whatever, but I don't think he's reanimated like we see him in Ahsoka yet. Vader obviously has plot armor. Maul obviously has plot armor. There's a ton of it, but I thought the show did a really good job of making us. I mean, they're not all the same level, but like I care about Lawson and Lawson's kid and Two Boots and um, Rook Cast. Like she has that moment. I can't remember if it's in episode 8 or episode 7 where like she's comforting the one surviving Zabrak, and it's like, okay, yeah, to some level, these characters care about each other. Spybot, I can't say like I was super attached, but I thought he was a cool droid. I think the series has done a really good job giving us two new cool droids that both serve their purpose. I didn't see his death coming in this episode. I thought the moment where the Zabrak takes out the three troopers just because of how dire things are, and like it's not like he fell into the acid. He quite literally like they're sacrificing yourself with gunshots and whatever. And yes, he'd been shot a few times. Um, but to sacrifice yourself that way, I mean, it's almost on the level of throwing yourself into a pit of molten lava. Um, so I think it showed how much they. I think Zach referenced it at the beginning of his speech there. Um, how much certain individuals, anyways, cared about what Maul's plan was and buying into it. Like there are certain members of that group that were close. Um, and so like I did not think we were going to get as much death in that episode as we got. I thought, maybe one or two, but by the end of it's little Maul's crew is gone completely. Um, and the only acid thing I can think of in Star Wars, and I've been trying to think about this not just since Zach brought it up, but all day, because I did find the setting very interesting. The only thing that even comes close to comparing to that would probably be one of the maps on The Force Unleashed. It's the only thing I can think of, and even not to that extent. So it shows that you can still do new things in this franchise and make things entertaining. And then the Vader part, like I'm gonna slightly go into episode 10 here a bit. They could have had him come in and say something, but the fact that he never says anything in either episode, I fucking love because they made a choice to present him as a monster, not humanizing him, not going overly Anakin Skywalker with it. He's just the big bad, at the end of the movie, if you will, who is here to fucking kill you, and he is not interested in having a conversation with you. Like Rook Cast and the other Mandalorian get dragged into the fog, and the crunching is just bone chilling. And despite the quality definitely dipping in that shot, it still served its purpose, and I thought it was quite good. Before we get to our scores here of episode one, really quickly, we'll go around the table. Did you have a favorite moment of the episode, starting with Zach?
Um, it's subtle, but I would say actually one of my favorite moments was them encountering the skiff when they get down to the acid lake. So many times in so many different shows, you'll encounter a plot device that just happens to be exactly what they needs in that exact moment. I think of the ferry in the first Lord of the Rings movie. You just happen to have a barge that's big enough for all of the hobbits to get across that lake, to get away from the wraiths and force them to go to the bridge. Like that's just convenient as hell. And there's other examples where you need to get away and the device that you need just happens to be there, whether it's a getaway car or if it's the Toyota pizza truck in Toy Story 2 that can put everybody in and drive them around. There's always some sort of convenient vehicle that gets you from point A to point B. But them finding a skiff that has to be operated by the spybot droid and can only hold two people at a time increased the tension and increased the stakes because you know that you're not going to get everybody across before the empire catches up to you. So it's a way of providing a means of cross without providing a clean getaway. And I thought that was a really solid plot choice. I thought that was a really solid writing choice. It helped provide a combination of a sense of relief that people are going to get away, but also a source of tension because you feel like maybe not everyone is going to get away. So it was like a double plot piece. Oh, some people are going to make it, but oh, some people might die here too. And so providing that means of escape without providing a way for everyone to get away was a cool moment to me. It was subtle, but I thought it was really good storytelling.
Randy?
So for me, you know, I could just easily say Vader showing up, but I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to say the transition from sci-fi epic action piece to flat out fucking horror movie, because that is the feeling you get when they introduce Vader at the end. Just the merciless slasher ready to just kill everybody. And that's the vibe they gave with, and they set it up nicely with the fog, even if it wasn't the best clarity, but just the overall feel of it. The look on everybody's face, even Maul just kind of practically shitting himself because it's Vader and he's never felt anything like this before. And he doesn't know who it is. He just literally just sits there, and all of them have that look on their face of like, I've just stepped into a horror movie. And that's exactly the feeling you get. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. And the fact that, like you were saying, Vader didn't speak the entire time, whether it was, the introduction at 9 and then all through 10, that just added to it. That just added to the whole idea of, we're seeing him just somebody who just doesn't care, who just wants to kill everything. And yeah, that's why that's definitely my favorite moment from this particular episode. It was just so well done, and the transition was flawless.
Gianni?
I think for me, the thing in episode 9 that got me that I wasn't expecting was Spybot. And just generally his entire interactions during the course of that episode. I mean, I can't remember what it was, but he had a voice line that was clearly English words on the bridge before they got to the skiff. I can't remember what it was specifically, but it cracked me up in the moment. Because I always find those moments where droids are speaking English to just be hilarious, because you're never expecting them, with the exception of protocol droids and other droids who can already speak the language. So I'm not counting like the 2 Bootses and the 3POs. I'm talking like, when R2D2 and Chopper and now Spybot, when they say things in English that you just aren't prepared for. And then the emotion of the moment when right before he was sliced in half and the camera cuts to him, and and you can see the emotion, which is something that is hard to do, is to not just convey emotion, but to make you feel the emotion. But I felt it in that moment when they cut to him and he gets sliced in half, and you just kind of see the sadness in his face when he says master, and then, kind of slides in half. Just, I was not expecting that kind of emotion from a character that had otherwise just been a background character. Like, up until this point, he was kind of like the, I don't want to say pet, but he was kind of like in that role of like, companion but not relevant to the larger goings on. I was not expecting to be that invested in that moment, and I was. It caught me off guard just how emotional that moment felt from something that otherwise wouldn't have bothered me in episodes prior. So, hats off to that. I could pick, any of the other things you guys said, but like I said, Vader was kind of obvious after they dropped after the Inquisitors dropped their line, so it wasn't as shocking. I was genuinely shocked with Spybot and how much I cared about him in that moment of his death.
Yeah, the Spybot one was tough. The Zabrak one, even, I forget which one was still alive there at the end, but sacrificing himself. The Vader moment's an obvious one. But I think the thing I'm going to go with is actually a technical thing, and that is the sound design specifically. The sound design across both episodes, but even with this episode, especially when you look at like the acid lake or whatever, and even once they reach the fog and the crunching, and even as they're making their way down through the tunnels and enter the sewer area, like, they have hit another level with the sound design on these animated shows with Maul Shadow Lord. Like, you can say what you want about Clone Wars, Rebels, Tales of, Bad Batch. I forget what that sequel one was called. I barely watched any of it. But the sound design on this one is just like, it may not be the size of a or the quality of like an IMAX movie or anything like that, but it is noticeably better than it's been probably ever in terms of Star Wars animation. And I really appreciated that. All right, let's get to the scores here. I guess I'll kick things off. I'm going to give episode 9 a 9.4 out of 10. Zach?
You're setting a high bar, sir. It's a pretty high bar. You know what? I think I'll give it a 9 even. I don't usually I go with evens or halves. I don't know if I go in the middle as much as I used to. It would probably be like maybe a 9.1 or a 9.2, but that feels like it's just messing around with it. So I'm gonna give it a clean and even 9. 9 for 9.
I'm a Zach. I'm at a solid 4.5 pairs of mauled legs for a 9.
Randy?
I mean, I'm giving it a 9.2, just because it, like I said, it set everything up beautifully. It was so well done from start to finish. and I was trying to figure out how you could top it, and then episode 10 came along, and I know we're getting ready to talk about that. So
Yeah, let's dive right into episode 10, the season 1 finale of Maul Shadow Lord. Zach, we'll start with you this time, man. Give us your full spoiler thoughts, what you liked, what you didn't like, what stood out to you, any questions you want to pose to the group.
Oh man, that's a lot all in one. Best episode of the season, easily, and it felt like they had been building to save the best for last. It just felt like that. Um, the music, the set design, the sound design, the action pieces, the stakes, the the choreography, like there were so many intricately woven moments jam packed into about 24 minutes, and that was just incredibly done. Just incredibly done. Um, I still stand by the plot armor. I wish that we had had a different Inquisitor besides two of them that we know their fates of. If we had been able to substitute one of them that we don't know the fates of, then we have stakes for the opponents as well. We're not just killing off stormtroopers. So I wish that that duel would have given us the availability to kill off one of the Inquisitors so that we feel like there's a striking blow of some sorts for our intrepid heroes. But to also not provide them that is a deliberate choice, one that brings about a sense of doom, a sense of impact, a sense of loss that you don't really feel all that much in a lot of these animated Star Wars shows. I don't believe I felt as emotionally swayed with all of those components I mentioned: sound design, music, choreography, set pieces, everything. The way that I did with that episode, I don't think I felt once with Rebels. I don't think I felt it once with Rebels. So I I still believe that a Maul show was probably a bit superfluous, but I also believe that they have incorporated enough other characters to justify the surrounding cast and moving forward with it. I didn't know about Dryden Voss, and I think he'll be a big player in season 2, which I'm looking forward to. Um, and I think Devon's going to come into her own in the second season as well. So it's got a lot of high stakes. It's got a lot of high impact. It left me wanting more, and I'm excited to see what happens next. Um, but yeah, that's the one half point knock I'm going to take off of it. I'm going to go ahead and give a spoiler for what my score is going to be, but I'm taking a half a point off of the plot armor because the only character that I felt certain was going to die from the moment I saw him finally kicked the bucket, but nobody else did. So plot armor was pretty thick in this episode, but it was still enjoyable.
Hard to argue with any of that. Randy, give us your full finale thoughts.
So, I mean, obviously, I'll echo what Zach said in terms of like the music, the choreography, just the fights they had. Yeah, we knew there was going to always be plot armor with some of the characters, but I mean, we all knew Daki was going to go, but we didn't know how. It's kind of like, you know Vader's going to become Vader, Anakin's going to become Vader, but it's like that was one of the things about the prequels. You knew his end story, you knew his story, but you just didn't know how he got there. And in this case, even though it's you just met this character at the beginning of the series, actually kind of really started growing on me, and I knew that once he survived episode 9, I knew he was probably going to die in 10, and it was pretty well done. It was just Maul being like, "Nope, I need to protect my new apprentice. So here, Vader, have fun with him." It was typical Maul in that respect, but the thing that got me is, first of all, the idea that I thought they took out Two Boots, and I was just kind of like, you got to be kidding me. That was what that droid has grown on me. But then the parental sacrifice with Lawson, that hit me hard because I was not ready to say goodbye to that character. I thought that character had grown on me a lot during the season, and he had a lot left to. I felt like he had a lot left to give, but yeah, I guess not. And then, of course, the Devin finally giving into the rage. I thought that was really well done, and I feel like it's gonna be a really cool transition for her in season 2. But all in all, it was just another. The slowdown moments weren't really slowdown moments. They were more tension building as we race to the end of the episode, and I really felt like everything had weight to it. That there was just a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety, and a lot in this episode because you just didn't know, with the exception of essentially Maul and Devin. That's really it in terms of our protagonists, where we knew the Inquisitors were going to be fine as well, but that's a different side of things. But again, I think one of the cool moments is Daki landing a hit on Vader, and then you just see, you could feel the rage in Vader as all of a sudden his speed like doubled, almost tripled, because of he just got pissed he got hit. And that was very typical of what we'd seen in other shows that involved Vader. So which was always good to see it there, holding true to form with the character. But yeah, man, all in all, I thought it was a great way to end the season. Got me really excited for season 2. I think it couldn't have ended a better way of just basically Devin just succumbing and saying, I'm ready. And that was it. Fade to black. Season 2, here we come.
Johnny V, give me your finale thoughts, man. We finally get some sort of Maul Vader fight, and more deaths, we think, anyways. And what looks to be some sort of direction for season 2.
I mean, yeah, I loved finally getting the tease of a Maul Vader fight, because let's be honest, if that's all we ever get, I'm going to feel greatly disappointed. Because it wasn't quite the clash I wanted, because you always had, Daki and, and future Devin, not future Devin, but future Talon, always kind of being in the mix there, specifically Daki, was always there. For Maul's interaction. So like, I like the tease. I like, seeing those moments where you could finally see them like getting at it. I mean, I don't want to say I have issues with it, because, from a choreography standpoint, I can kind of understand it, but like, I hate the feeding in combat that seemed to be so prevalent in the early part of that battle. It just bugged me. Like, when you see a shot, like there was a few shots specifically in the early parts when it was still all of them kind of together, specifically Daki and Maul, where like one of them would just be standing completely stationary while the other one was dueling with him. I didn't like that. And then, Daki would get thrown off, and then Maul would get in the combat. Like, I didn't like that level of feeding. Like, I can understand it because, except for the pivotal moments where you get, Devin throwing her lightsaber in to save one, or vice versa, you want to try and keep it as one-on-one as possible-ish, except for the moments where you want it, right? It's like choreography, I can understand that, but like, I hated like seeing them standing stationary. Like, that bugged me so much when you would see it. Like, I know what's going on, but like, move the shot so that you can't see that person, right? Like, that bugged me a bit, but that's more, choreography and directing than any part of the like, the actual combat was great, but like, I just hated those little parts where it's like Maul was the big one. There was a few shots where he'd just kind of stand there with his blade and like ready pose while Daki is dueling with Vader. That just like made me kind of just yell at my screen a little bit, like, just, if you're gonna be there, attack together. And then when they did, you actually got to see that combat in a way that was great once they got kind of more out on the bridge of it all, I guess. And the person I'm talking about were more where they were still kind of enclosed underneath the ruin, I guess. And then once they got out on the bridge, it got more straight 2-on-1 like I wanted. But overall I enjoyed it. I do absolutely want a future Maul Vader 1-on-1 with Maul sort of at his best, with his legs functioning properly against Vader, just as sort of a the two, I would argue, the two best duelists in Star Wars. Maul got beat on strategy, not skill. And that's something entirely different. So I would like to see the two strongest, and I believe that's Maul and Vader personally. I would like to see them just get an epic 1-on-1, nobody else in there. I can't remember which one of you said it, but I would have liked to see one of the Inquisitors get taken down here. Specifically because we know, in the future, one of them is going to be a Dark Sister Clockwork Sith, so he has to die at some point. I don't want his death to just be some random off-screen, yeah, he just died between this and then. If you're going to introduce a character whose fate we know for certain, show us that fate, right? It just goes back to Zach's point about plot armor. It definitely, you know which characters are going to have plot armor, because characters always have plot armor until a series finale or something like that. But the thing that bugged me the most in the course of this entire episode was when he literally let himself die when he could have just run onto the ship. I'm obviously, talking about Lawson. And it bugged me. I understood the sacrifice moment to get your son on the ship, but at that point, Maul's not back yet. So the ship's not going anywhere. There's no reason for you to advance forward. You're not going to make progress as an individual. They're still firing from behind. All you got to do is run to the damn ship and you're survived too. His death was completely pointless, other than just having a moment where his son gets the "aw, sad." It was completely pointless to me and didn't push the story forward in any meaningful way, other than just to provide a death. It's like somebody sat in the writer's room and said, well, it's the finale. Somebody's got to die, right? And they flipped the coin and he was the one who landed on heads. It was pointless to me. It didn't carry any weight or emotion or anything beyond that. And it just felt wasted. This is a character that's kind of, especially in light of Daki dying, right? You need a good person in the groups. Unless, Kid, Lawson, and Two Boots are just going to disappear for season 2, which I hate that idea, because they have been so integral to this. So much time was spent on their story throughout the course of this first season that just, oh, well, now this is entirely about Maul and Devin and now Vader to a certain degree, and the Inquisitors, that they just don't matter, and Dryden Voss. You need that sort of counterbalance to, the good and evil, right? That's what I thought. That's what I thought this story was at its best. When Daki and Maul were, talking to Devin, and we're playing the devil on the shoulder and the angel on the shoulder, literally in those moments, I thought was when the story was at its best. And you've completely thrown that out of the way now. So I just feel like you need a counterbalance to the darkness that the Maul part of the story is going to take you on. And killing him in such a, in my opinion, pointless and frivolously stupid way did nothing for the story. And it was wasted in what could have been an otherwise important moment. Now, if that would have happened, as if Maul and Devin pass him on the way up the ship ramp while he's still holding off the stormtroopers, then sure, fine. You have the intensity of the moment. They can't get away without him. It just, it was moot and pointless. I hated it.
Well, now that Captain Haterade down there is done with his episode 10 review, I didn't hear much positive from him on that one.
Well, the other two covered the positives. I
well,
just be going over things they said.
I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you're wrong. I mean, you're right to have your opinion, but I'm going to tell you why I think they're wrong. And I could be wrong. I could be. But we don't see Lawson take a fatal shot. We don't. He gets hit in the arm a couple of times, never once gets hit in the chest. We see him disappear into the fog, and that's it. We don't see the body drop. We don't see the dead body. So I'm going out on a limb and saying Lawson is not dead. I think he is very much alive. I could be wrong on that, but I think he is very much alive. And I think that'll be a moment.
I'll be very happy to be wrong about that. Very, very happy.
But if he is dead, just because you don't like the way it's executed doesn't mean it was pointless. The point was to allow his son to escape. I mean, if I'm going to sacrifice myself for anything on this planet, the first things I'm going to sacrifice myself for are my children. 100%. So I appreciated that.
It's not the intent I have issue with. It's the execution of it.
Well, that's fair. Look, I thought the way that this episode played out was done incredibly well. Like on a level that we have never seen before in Star Wars animation. One, Darth Vader was basically the living, breathing form of Jason Voorhees. That moment he lifts the rocks and continues to walk right through, the moment he walks through the wall, which is literally a scene right out of most of your favorite horror movies, whether it's Friday the 13th, Halloween. Jason's done it, Michael Myers has done it. And I liked that they had Vader do it because in these episodes, there's no sign of Anakin Skywalker. It's the monster at the end of the book, if you will. I love the way it was conveyed. If there's something I think that was executed incredibly well, if I think there was a message that Filoni and company were trying to send the fan base, it was this. You mentioned being maybe a little underwhelmed by the Vader Maul fight and wanting another one-on-one. Look, Maul has one damaged leg. Okay, and yes, it's affecting him. But Vader, for half that battle, was taking on all three of them with one fucking hand on his lightsaber. That was the storytelling group telling you there is no epic battle to be had here between these two. These two are not on the same level. There are levels to this, and Vader is miles and miles beyond Maul in combat and in the Force. And how dare you say Maul's better than Kenobi in combat? Fuck you. I thought it was genius. Would I have done that myself? No, I wouldn't have thought to done that. I probably would have done what you're asking for, the big Maul versus Vader showdown. But when you look at what the precedent that they've set up before that, it makes sense. And here's why. Go back to the end of Clone Wars, which is only I believe, a year and a half or 2 years before this takes place. Okay? During the time of Revenge of the Sith, but season 7 of Clone Wars at the very end. We see Maul lose to Ahsoka. He straight up loses one-on-one to Ahsoka. And Revenge of the Sith tells you that Anakin and Obi-Wan have both hit another level in terms of what they're capable of. Ahsoka could not go one-on-one with Anakin or Obi-Wan during Revenge of the Sith. And she beats Maul. So there's absolutely no fucking reason. And I can't say I thought about it before this episode, because I didn't. But there's really no reason, even if Maul's leg is fixed, that he should have any chance against Vader. And I don't think he would. He was obviously quite limited with what he could do. But you have 3 very capable Force users there that, when it was 3-on-1, did not land a blow on Vader. The blow on Vader comes later. And I love the way that was done. I truly think that was, whether it was Filoni, Lucasfilm, etc., telling you And that's not to say Vader and Maul aren't going to face again. Maul might not, Maul could have more of a fight for Vader. But I do think that was their way of saying, look, you want this big epic showdown between the two, but the simple truth is they're not on the same level. This, isn't Hogan versus Rock from WrestleMania 18. It's not. Um, and the way that they executed that, I loved it. Dockie's death, I loved too. I loved the ability to present fear in this episode for an animated show. It was incredibly well done, and you see it in Maul. He kind of gives Dockie that shove at the end there, and I don't think that was his intent from the very beginning, but he was desperate to get away. And this probably won't get acknowledged by many people, but the Dryden Voss part of the show, I watched a couple of reviews and they were going on about, well, why does Dryden go himself to save Maul? One, Dryden has acknowledged that he is not currently in charge of Crimson Dawn. Okay, he is someone else. We don't even really know what his ranking is, whether it's number 2 or even lower. So the fact that he goes himself to procure an asset that he needs to climb the ladder made all the sense in the world to me. I've seen people going, well, why didn't you just send lackeys? How many times have you heard the saying, if you want something done right, do it yourself? And this episode, I thought, showed that in spades. I absolutely love this episode. One of my favorite Star Wars animated episodes ever. Sound design even better in this one. And the setting, that the wherever they are, the underground force type setting, the broken bridge. It almost felt like something you'd see out of an Indiana Jones movie with where they were fighting, which I really appreciated. And I really do like the animation style. Like, there's a lot of Clone Wars there, but it's almost like everything has like these brush strokes to them. And it's something different. I think it really delivered in every area. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. I'll lead us off with favorite moments. My favorite moment I already mentioned, really. It's not one specific scene, it's their ability to capture fear in this episode. And I think it's done so incredibly well. Zach?
There it is. I had to find the freaking mute button. um, for me, it's the moment that Devon sees her master pass away. Normally you'll get um a moment where you actually see the stabbing take place, but in this sequence, you're actually seeing Vader remove the saber with the piercing hole still in Daki. That's an editing choice to show that it's not about necessarily how he dies, but that he is dead. And what do you do next with that? And Devon's anger that she lashes out with afterwards is a night and day comparison from her previous fighting style. And it's showing the grief and the anguish and the pain that I wish Attack of the Clones had used when Anakin lost his mother. All we get is like 3 or 4 seconds of his anger, and then all we see afterwards is a temper tantrum. In this, we actually see how someone takes grief and applies it to the moment they are in. And it's not only just a moment, but it's a life or death moment. And so it was interesting to see um, her handling one of Maul's red blades. I honestly thought, and this is going to sound corny, but I honestly thought that she was gonna bleed her blue saber and bleed the crystal red from the anguish that she was
Oh, man.
experiencing there.
That would have been awesome. That is a missed opportunity. I didn't even think about that.
I seriously thought that's what she was going to do, and replacing it with half of Maul's saber was a missed opportunity. But if there was ever a time for someone's grief and anguish and anger to do something incredibly drastic, it would be there. So, but that just shows how much turmoil she was going through, and that's why it was my favorite moment. It shows the impact that one person can have on a young person's life, and it shows that she's definitely headed down a dark path now because she does not have that angel on her shoulder anymore.
Man, that would have been perfect. That would have been the cherry on top, man. That's a good thought there. Maybe we can get Zach's special edition of Maul Shadow Lord and get that edited in somewhere.
The Zach cut, the super Zach cut.
Randy, what about you? Favorite moment?
Yeah, man, that's hard to follow up. Thanks a lot, Zach. Because that was, yeah. Thinking about it, that as to not steal Zach's thunder, I'm going to go a different route. I'm going to basically double down on the horror aspect of it with the way Vader was portrayed. Uh, Silent killer, unstoppable. The fact that when he gets wounded, he acts like a wounded dog and he just unleashes another level of anger and strength that uh, we only have seen a handful of times, especially like when he's hammering away trying to break someone's guard. The power and the speed he was using, we normally don't get to see Vader fight like that too often, and usually even in the movies for the most part, unless it's against Luke, he's usually always using one hand with a lot of his combat. At times I thought he was going to end up using two, but we know he gets super serious when stuff like that goes down. But just the ferocity that they showed in Vader and the fact that he just didn't say a damn thing, it really just proves that this version of Vader, this close removed from Revenge of the Sith, shows just how much of how angry he is, how much he's given into the dark side, and how he just doesn't care. He just wants to get the job done. He just wants to kill everything while he's still sorting through his grief from everything that transpired uh, by the time we get through the Revenge of the Sith. So that's definitely like one of my favorite moments. It's just Vader's unbridled rage and ferocity.
Johnny?
I mean, it was Vader, without question. Any of the issues I had earlier were just in choreography, not in, the actual him. You're right. Everything he had was just, it was the most peak Vader we've ever seen. There was no Anakin bleeding through anywhere in that, which is usually something we kind of get because most of the other stuff we see is always, somehow tied to either Obi-Wan or, in the future, obviously we see him, with the rebels and Ahsoka kind of being in the periphery, and obviously, the original trilogy is all about Anakin, but like this is the most Vader we've ever seen Vader. It was the opening sequence from The Force Unleashed. It was amazing how well they portrayed all that, how they kept him as strong as they did in the combat, going against as many as he was at different times. Just everything about Vader was peak Vader, and that's kind of why I want to see it. With him and Maul at Maul's peak is, it's the one we never got. It's the Ali Tyson fight in Star Wars. It's the one we always wanted but never could get, and I would like to see it when both are at their peak. I don't think it would be, the evenly matched. I think it would be very different than what we'd expect, but I just want to see it. It's the one I want to see most that we haven't seen yet. But yeah, Vader all the way through was the best part of this episode.
Johnny, give us your score out of 10.
I'm gonna come in at a 9.4. So what's that? 4.5 maul legs with one cut slightly above the knee.
Maybe he's missing an eye or something. I swear I'm not trying to price this right here. I had already decided because I gave 9.4. I'm giving 10 9.5. Zach?
It's a 9.5 here. And like I said, the half point isn't really for anything else except the plot armor. I wish they had incorporated other characters besides Docky that we could feel a sense of loss for, but he was really the only one, and I knew it was coming. So I wish that there had been other moments, other characters, other impact to give us a sense of loss, but everything else I thought was excellent.
Randy?
That was me real quick. I'm actually giving this a 9.6.
Awesome. Well, I think it says a lot about what this series has done. Zach doesn't have much time, so we are going to come back to Maul Shadow Lord for another topic here shortly. But I want to get a little something in, and that is a little game that I thought of, and I'm sure other people have played a similar game, but it's not trivia. So let's throw that out right now. And we need someone to be the person who keeps track of time here. So I am just an observer. The three of you need to work together in tandem as a team. And it'll start with Zach, and it'll go to Randy, and then Johnny, and then back to Zach. So we'll go clockwise. And what it is it's called the Star Wars alphabet game. Now, you will have 5 seconds at most. If I get to 5, and I'm not going to count out loud because I don't want to interrupt your thinking process, but if I get to 5, I'm going to go, and just like that, whoever doesn't get it is out, and the remaining 2 continue. So what it is you have to say, and it can be anything Star Wars related: characters, planets, vehicles, affiliations, factions, weapons, etc. You need to. So, for example, A for Anakin, B for Bespin, etc. And we'll see if we can
as well.
anything Star Wars. So as long as it's in the story, no behind the scenes stuff.
Damn, I can't say George Lucas.
We're gonna, and you can't see Harrison Ford either. It's got to be in canon, in story stuff.
First or last name, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
So the goal here is to get to Z. Get to Z with one of you still standing. And even when it comes down to 1, we'll continue until then. Zach, if we're in the middle of this and you have to go, just feel free to go, man, and I'll make sure I plug your stuff. Why don't you lead us off? Let me know when you're ready, and I will begin the clock.
So we're starting with me, Randy, Johnny, back to me.
Correct.
Okay. I'm ready. Yeah.
Ready
right,
as I can be, I guess.
Okay.
Get set. Go.
A, Alderaan.
B, Bantha.
C, Chewie.
D, Droid.
E, Embo.
F, Finn.
G, Grogu.
H, Hoth.
I, IG-88.
J, Jabba.
K, Kashyyyk.
L, Luke Skywalker.
N, 9 Num.
You skipped M. You went to N.
Oh, you skipped M.
Did I skip him?
Quickly, M. Yeah.
You went from Luke to 9 Num.
Okay. Well, does that knock me out then if I don't know how to do the alphabet?
Yeah, I guess so. Randy?
Do we pick up from M?
Yeah.
Okay.
M, Mustafar.
N, 9 Num.
O, Organa.
Padme.
Rook.
Q.
You skipped
You
Q.
forgot
right?
Q.
I skipped
And
Q.
Randy's
So I gotta go Q
All right.
through Z?
Yes, you do. Okay,
Oh my
starting
God.
now.
Q, Qui-Gon. R, R2D2. S, Snoke. T, Talon Card. U, Ugnaughts. V, Vader. W.
You forgot Dub.
V before
Did
W.
Okay, all right. We're all forgetting our fucking
You threw me
alphabet
off the
here. This is going
alphabet there.
terribly.
Maybe we should do an episode of Reading Rainbow and then come back or something.
Hooked on phonics didn't work for us.
W, Wedge. X, X-Wing.
There you go.
Y, Yoda. And Z, Zemo the Hutt.
All right. Well,
Wonder
we got
if
through.
Sean would have said. I wonder if Sean would have accepted Zalbar.
Damn, I should have said
would've.
mission for M.
I would have.
Whoever had M should have said mission. Damn it.
I would have. All right. Well, we'll take this moment to allow Zach to wrap up for this evening. Zach, what do you want to plug, man? Thanks for being here tonight.
I don't really have much to plug right now. I'm kind of in a down season. You can still follow me on Zach the Voice on different socials if you want. I know that you all are going to be doing top 5 Star Wars moments later. If I breeze through them real quick, could I list those off before I head out?
Absolutely not. Obviously, yeah. Go ahead.
Fuck you. An honorable mention that I put down was meeting Steven Stanton. He's a fantastic gentleman and does a really great job with the voice acting work that he's done. And then when we went to the Rogue One premiere, he brought us pizza for the people that were waiting in line. So just a fantastic human being. And it was really cool getting the chance to meet him. Number 5 for me was riding Rise of the Resistance at Hollywood. It's a very fun, very immersive, I don't even know what you call it, experience, ride, whatever you want to call it. But it's probably like the most fun thing about the sequel trilogy for me, if I'm being totally honest. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed how immersive it made you feel, how the cast members kind of convince you what you're a part of. They did a really good job with it. It was really solid. Number 4 for me is the announcement of episode 7 back in 2015. There was a lot of hype around that. There was a lot of excitement around that. And just the sense of how excited the Star Wars community was to have movies again. We've gotten a little complacent since then. And I remember like in 2012, I think, was when it was first announced that episode 7 is officially happening. And it was a fun time to be a Star Wars fan. Number 3 for me was seeing episode 3 in the theaters. It's still one of my best movie viewing experiences of all time. And I was 12 at the time when it came out. And so I felt like a badass watching a PG-13 movie at 12 years old. And so that just kind of heightened the experience for me as well. 2 and 1 kind of tie into each other a little bit. Number 2 was seeing Rogue One 7 times in 7 days. I got to see it with people from college. I got to see it with my family when I came back from viewing it in California with a whole bunch of friends. We saw it multiple times in California. I saw it multiple times when I came back to Texas. I saw it before the announcement of Carrie Fisher, and then I saw it again after the announcement of Carrie Fisher's passing. And there were different emotional impacts depending on which side of the coin I was on. So seeing Rogue One 7 times in 7 days was a really, really cool experience. I wasn't planning on it to happen, but it happened, and it was a lot of fun. And then I think my number 1 Star Wars experience moment for me was seeing Rogue One at the Hollywood Theater, the Grauman's Chinese / TCL Theater. There is nothing like it. The fan base that was there viewing it was unlike anything I've ever experienced. And so when you combine history with cinema, with classy Star Wars fans, with an epic movie that is still, I want to say, probably in my top 3 favorite Star Wars movies of all time, just the viewing experience and what we got to view were just fantastic. And it's a core memory that's going to be with me for a long time. So yeah, I don't know if I did it right, but that's my list and I'm going to stick to it.
You did. That's the kind of list I was looking for, man. Thanks a lot.
Beautiful.
Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah. Thanks y'all for having me. I'm off to go actually watch a Star Wars movie with my wife. So may the 4th be with y'all. We haven't decided yet. My compromise was we'll watch a Star Wars, but she gets to pick which one. So
well, when you know, shoot me a message and we'll let the audience know which Star Wars movie you're watching tonight.
Absolutely. Y'all have a happy May 4th. Thanks for having me on.
Alrighty, there you have it. That's the voice himself, Mr. Zach, and he'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. We are going to play another round of this Star Wars game before we move on, the alphabet game. And here's the thing. You cannot say ones that you said in round one. You might
Well, I
sneak
hope
one
you kept
past
a list.
you might sneak one past me, and if you do, that's fine. But if I definitely notice it's one you said in that first round, you will be axed. So yeah, keep a list. You guys are going through some of them fucking half a second at a time. Yeah, that'd be impossible to keep up with.
You think we did?
We will start with, well, we're playing the honesty game here, so do your best. Like, if you know, I don't even.
I can't remember anything that wasn't Z.
Um,
That's because it was the last one.
Boy, I didn't think 2 of 3 people would be eliminated via forgetting the alphabet, though.
Well, it's the
honest.
idea of like you only get
I'm gonna
5
be honest.
seconds.
As soon as you said this, I literally opened a notepad really quick and just wrote the alphabet in order, so that would not happen to me.
Yeah, I think it's
All
just
right.
the intention of having only 5 seconds to try to
It
think
gets
of
hard.
something.
Like there were a few times where I'm looking at it and I'm skipping it. I'm like, no, come back.
Well, at least you weren't looking at a keyboard trying to keep track of which letters were said and weren't.
That would just, oof, no thank you.
All right, let's do this. Johnny, you start us off. I'm going to give you a few seconds here to prepare. Remember, you get 5 seconds at most. 3, 2, 1. The Star Wars alphabet game begins now.
Admiral Akbar,
Bespin.
Cassian,
Dianoga.
Echo,
5s.
Grand Admiral Thrawn,
Oh, damn it. Han.
Indara,
Jar Jar.
Kanan,
Lando.
Mother Talzin,
Damn it. Trying not to use the same one that Zach did, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Damn it.
Time's up. Randy is out, so Johnny's got to go from N.
Hey, no, this isn't as hard as going from fucking. You guys are killing me, man. You don't need to. That's the fucking alphabet, man.
I can't believe you froze on N.
I just didn't want to do what Zach did, so that's what threw me off.
Okay. Ninth sister. Omega. Palpatine. Who did we do for Q last? Kira. Rex. Salacious P. Crumb. Talon. Damn, I did Talon last time.
And time's up. I thought you were going to do it, man. I thought you were going to run the table again. I would not have had you pegged as the guy that went the furthest in either one of these, and you did. So
it's the team, man. It goes right to Talon every time, and I know that's what I did last time. So, honor system and all that.
Randy, do you want to keep track of 5 seconds for us? I'd like to take a shot at this. I'll probably be the one to screw up, and Johnny will go undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, I can do it.
I'll let Johnny begin things.
Oh, boy. Yay for me. Okay, so.
All right. Well, I'll give you 10 seconds when I'm looking at the timer on the live thing here, and I'll keep a track of it there. Start in 5 seconds.
Okay, Abeloth.
Go.
Bakara.
Time's up, Johnny.
Oh my!
Completely
You're making me go from C? Are you?
Yeah, well,
Me? Oh my god!
This is the third time I've done this, man.
Calrissian.
Okay.
Oh my god, you're killing me here.
And that's time.
Dantooine. What did I run out of time? Did you say?
Ran out of time like by a second.
Okay. I was not. I'm starting to question if Randy was giving us a proper 5 seconds or 1, 2, 3, 4,
I'm
5.
usually watching the timer here.
I wasn't expecting to go from C, but you know
Nope.
what? I'll
That was
take
the
it.
third
It's a-
time
it's
I've
a
been
win.
through, man. It's not exactly a high number of things that start with C.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, that's the Star Wars alphabet game for tonight. Um, season 2 expectations for Maul Shadow Lord. I don't know how much of the Inquisitors and Vader we're going to see. I don't think we're just automatically going to go to a bunch of Vader. I think we're going to, and I also think, like, from their perspective, we better hope Lawson's alive because I don't know if they're willing to tell any of the story from their perspective. And look, Crimson Dawn is still around in Solo, which is basically 8 years after these events. Nor do they know who they escaped with. I'm sure there's going to be some investigative ways they can look into it. But I think this might be more of like a kind of like the first 4 episodes were of the season, more like gangster based in season 2. Now, obviously, Maul and Devin have a goal. I'm not saying they're not going to be there, but I just don't know how centric the Empire is going to be in this next season unless, Lawson's still alive and he's a prisoner of the Empire. Then that allows you to kind of go tell the story from their perspective a little bit. Where are they going? What did he know, etc. So I'm curious about the direction of season 2, but I do got to say this in terms of season 1. And again, it's only going off of one season, but I can confidently say, and I'm a big Clone Wars guy, but there's lots of filler in Clone Wars. There's a ton of filler in Rebels. I think in terms of quality, this is far and away the best Star Wars animated series we've ever gotten so far. Randy, what about you? Season 2 thoughts and any thoughts on the quality of season 1?
Well, I'm just guessing here. We're going to see a lot of training for Devin. Who knows? Maybe we will get that opportunity to see her bleed a crystal. Who knows? We depends on, I guess, if she goes and retrieves her lightsaber after a while, which I doubt is going to happen. But you never know. I mean, maybe they'll get one off of somebody, or Maul just have her make her one. I don't know.
Maul does have a different lightsaber in Rebels.
This is true. So it'll be interesting to see.
And in Solo, in fact, the lightsaber he ignites in Solo is the same one he ignites in Rebels.
It'll be interesting to see where her training goes, how much development they give her in terms of going down the path of the dark side. I don't know what we're going to see in terms of the Empire, but the season 2 feels like it's going to be more underworld based, just because we know Dryden Voss has a special assignment for Maul, and maybe we'll get to see that, but we'll also get to see we'll see Devin's training. And then my guess is if they're going to incorporate the Empire, maybe Two Boots does follow through and takes Lawson's kid to his mom, which we obviously, as we know, she works for the Empire. So that could be a way into using the Empire in season 2. But honestly, it's the only thing I know for sure at this point is just more mob stuff and lots of dark side training, and that's about the extent of what I feel like is guaranteed in season 2. As for the quality of season 1, I made a note right off the bat, just from the first episode, of just the art direction and the animation, and how this, like, everybody's skin felt like it had texture to it. Because with Clone Wars in general, when that first came out, a lot of straight lines, a lot of smooth colors in terms of just the palette they used for skin and things like that. But now we're to the point where we're keeping a lot of that Clone Wars feel, but now we're adding texture to it. Like there's just that extra layer that they figured out, and it just made things look so good because it gave contrast to light and shadow. And that's always been a big part in Star Wars, is utilizing lighting to kind of help tell a story without giving a lot of the plot away, unless you're I feel like that was such a big thing for this season. And I love that with 10 episodes, we didn't get any filler. But every episode had a purpose. Every episode had a way to help develop your characters. There was truly was growth in such a quick, rapid succession that I was really impressed with just how tight the story was, how great the direction was, and just the voice acting alone. All that was just top notch. So it would not surprise me in the least if this show wins some awards. But yeah, man, it sucks. Season 1's done, but the fact that we're getting season 2, I can't wait. I just hope we don't have to wait but so long. But at this point, as long as it stays with that type of quality, I'll wait as long as it takes.
All right, because we've run a little long here tonight, I think I'm going to save some of these topics, like the Fate of the Old Republic creative team, which there wasn't a ton revealed, but they revealed some stuff. We'll save that for next week. Same with the Mandalorian and Grogu box office, because it's still relevant, and it could change between now and then in terms of where the projections are. The final edition of Star Wars Insider revealed that the Star Wars Starfighter teaser trailer is coming soon, which is somewhat surprising. Like, we're a year out from the movie, and I can't help but wonder if, in terms of Star Wars history, we got the first teaser trailer for The Force Awakens 13 months before the movie came out. There are some people suggesting that there were some people that really thought it was going to be out today, and that didn't happen. Some people suggesting that it could be attached to The Mandalorian and Grogu. Historically, Star Wars has never done that. Attach an upcoming project in front of a current one, and they definitely had opportunity to. Rogue One could have had a teaser in front of The Force Awakens. It did not. Episode 7 could have had a teaser in front of Rogue One. It did not. Same with Solo. Same with The Rise of Skywalker. They didn't go down that road with any of them. However, they're also not nearly as healthy financially as they were back then in terms of what these movies are going to make. And I can't help but wonder if they're doing the Avenger Doomsday thing where they go, okay, you know what? We're not going to release the trailers publicly for quite some time, but we're going to sit here and attach this teaser to this movie. And let's be honest, it's not just us saying it. It's Sports Illustrated saying it. No, I'm kidding. But it's the majority of Star Wars fans who are more hyped for Star Wars Starfighter, the Sean Levy-led movie starring Ryan Gosling, Matt Smith, Amy Adams, and others. There's way more hype behind that movie, and been more marketing, frankly, behind that movie until recently than there's been for The Mandalorian and Grogu. We know one's a massive, big blockbuster production, and the other one was meant to be part of season 4 of a TV show. So could they entice fans who are out on Mandalorian and Grogu to go see that movie by seeing this trailer? Or do you think, or this teaser? Or do you think, and I mean, again, it's not even the good sources like Bespin Bulletin, Making Star Wars, Jeff Snyder, or any of the major trades. It's not like it's any of them saying it's Star Wars themselves, Lucasfilm themselves saying that the teaser is coming soon. Do we think there's any chance that this teaser is attached to that movie, or does soon mean sometime in the next couple months? Johnny?
No, I think it's a distinct possibility that we see this thing attached to the movie at the end of the month. I think they can kind of sort of read the tea leaves and know that this isn't going to produce to the level they want it to. And if they have the teaser ready to go, I think this is the right time to use that um, opportunity, because let's be honest, you're right. The fan base at large is not overly hyped for this. I mean, they're openly pushing forward a narrative that this box office is going to be low and expected to be low. That's not something they've ever done before. Like they hype the potential records that they're going to break for releases, not the potential for down box offices and low box offices, in the hope of overshooting the target that has been set for them. So I think that, yeah, there's a very, very strong possibility that this thing is going to be attached to it, and we're going to learn about it in a big way in the build up to it. This isn't going to be we show up at the box, we show up at the theater, those who are going opening night to see this thing and getting, oh my God, they attached the Starfighter trailer to it. No, we're going to know well in advance, in the hope that it might move the needle on some people who are ambivalent towards this film, in a way that, I didn't really want to go see it, but I can get to see the Starfighter trailer and, and then watch the movie. Because this is not the era where, I'm sure there are some people who were probably suggesting that, like in years past or decades past, where people would literally buy a ticket to a movie just to see a trailer. This is not that era anymore. You're not getting a cheap ticket to a movie just to watch a trailer. That's not happening anymore. That is a bygone era that will not occur. And anyone who suggests as such, I'd like for them to buy my ticket then, if they have that much money to spend. That buying a movie ticket is a frivolous expense in this day and age. So I do think we're going to see it then. I think they're going to announce it in a big way, probably in the next week or so, in the hopes that it will push some of the people who are, I might just wait this one out, into the, I will go check it out so that I can see this, because I am excited for that.
Randy?
So, is it possible? Of course it is. It's always possible. Obviously, another route. I feel like they're going now. This could be they could just drop it with Mando Grogu, but I also feel like Spider-Man: Brand New Day is probably be another potential one, since you're going to have a lot of eyes on that film. A lot of people are going to go see that film. So if you want to add to the hype, go ahead and attach it to that particular movie. But for the sake of attempting to try to drive up box office sales for Mandalorian Grogu, I don't know if that's really going to happen, unless you have a bunch of super diehards who are willing to go and spend the money because they just want to see this trailer that essentially is going to be on the internet the next day. So it's really, I feel like with this, and I'm not trying to be, negative in that respect, I feel like their best bet is Spider-Man, but I do feel like it easily could show up on Mandalorian Grogu, just because if they're that excited about it to put it out or to put out the teaser that early, then maybe there's something to seeing going to see the trailer itself on the big screen, because there's always something special about seeing that teaser trailer, whether it be a full trailer, teaser trailer, just something for something that you are interested in, and out of the blue, there it is on the big screen. There's always something special about getting to see see trailers like that on the big screen versus seeing it on YouTube or on your TV. But it's going to be interesting to see where they put it. I mean, it can be and I'm sure it'll be only maybe 30 seconds. Who knows? It's the epitome of a teaser in that respect. So I guess it's just we'll have to wait and see. Would I love to see it with Mandalorian Grogu? Absolutely. But if I was a betting man, I would say probably Spider-Man: Brand New Day for the teaser.
I don't think it'll be Spider-Man: Brand New Day, just because technically that's a Sony movie. If it wasn't going to be The Mandalorian and Grogu, which again, the only reason that leads me to believe it might be is simply what they did with the Avengers Doomsday stuff this past Christmas season. Toy Story's probably the one that stands out that comes out not too long from now. I'm sure there's other Disney movies I'm forgetting, but I don't remember them. And also, I don't think Toy Story is going to need a Star Wars boost to help out their box office. Could just be something they drop online. But if there's one thing that I know at Disney, it is don't expect a logical thing when it comes to their marketing. But who knows? That remains to be seen. Let's get to our top 5 Star Wars moments that we have, our life experiences, etc., that we've ever experienced, and then we'll close out. I am doing this show from my phone. My phone is down to 10%. It started at 80, so we really do not have much time. I'll start things off in case you guys need time to finish your lists. Number 5 for me, it's a softball one, but seeing Star Wars for the first time. While I was petrified as Darth Vader at a young age, it was A New Hope, and you don't see much of him, but when you do, he's scary and menacing, and he choked that poor lad out and threw him against a pipe. He's a little scary. He goes around choking a bunch of people in that movie, so but it stuck with me, and had I not enjoyed it, I would not be a fan of the franchise today. Number 4 for me is a night in October 2012 where I received, I don't know if it was a phone call or if we were on an Xbox Live party, but Johnny got a hold of me to tell me that not only was Star Wars sold to Disney, but that Episode 7 had officially been announced.
Started as a
To
text
which,
message, and then you called me.
to,
Call me a
yes,
liar.
to which my reply was, "You're a fucking liar." I thought he was having some fun with me because he knows how much that would have been, and it turned out it was true. There was a press release, and then there was also videos to go with the press release of the George Lucas sit down with Kathleen Kennedy, and I can't remember who the hell was interviewing the two of them, but some old lady. And yeah, so that was we knew we were still getting like Clone Wars at that time. Or it was getting ready to wrap up. And a Star Wars live action TV show was Star Wars Underworld was in development, but actually receive word on more movies was really cool. Number 3 for me was the first time walking into Walmart in Whitby, Ontario, Canada. There's now a Sobeys where that Walmart used to be, and seeing the Phantom Menace merch section, toy section. It wasn't quarter of an aisle or a third of an aisle. It was a long, full aisle on both sides of the aisle with as many fucking possible Star Wars toys as you could imagine. And I believe I got to pick out one, which sucked because as a kid, all I wanted to do was buy the fucking aisle, essentially. But that was just, like, I'd never ever in my life seen anything like it, and I can confidently say I'm sure there's still some Google images of it. I don't know if there's any video of it, but I can confidently say you will never ever see anything like that again. Just you were in heaven. Number 2 for me is Force Awakens opening night. Other than having to tip a cup of mayonnaise upside down because of someone who didn't want to do the job properly. Getting to be there with Johnny, my brother, my dad, a friend, and his friend. Just the whole experience, waiting 10 years in between Star Wars movies, even though it was cold as shit out. I remember, the 6 of us basically stood outside talking for 15 or 20 minutes before we got in the car to drive home. Just how much we all enjoyed the movie. Like, it was something else. And say what you want about the sequels, The Force Awakens to me still holds up. And number 1 for me is Revenge of the Sith opening night. This is the day where there was no reserve seating. Opening night release, you are waiting outside the door of the theater to be let in. Not the whole movie theater, but the screen that you're seeing it on. This was a big screen, sat hundreds of people, and it was about a 2 hour wait to be let in through the door, and then another hour. And again, social media isn't where it is now. So what do? You talk with other people in line. You theorize what's going to happen. You enjoy the experience. Johnny and I's mutual friend Greg went with me. And this is like a traditional midnight release. So Revenge of the Sith, and there's trailers beforehand too, isn't starting till like 12:30 in the morning. um, it was a wild experience. Greg left our seats at like 11:15 to go get food. Okay. His choice. I was not doing it. Wasn't happening. I had already gotten food when we were waiting in line, albeit popcorn would have been old at that point. 11:15 roughly, 11:10, 11:15. Well, guess what? It's like 12:15. He's still not back yet. Uh, and the trailers are starting, and it's like, the movie's gonna fucking start. Like, has this guy gone to the bathroom and gotten murdered or something? And as much as I love my friend, I was not leaving that movie theater to go check on him. And sure enough, he made it back on time. But yeah, no, opening night Revenge of the Sith. Sorry, I ran way too long there. Randy, give me your top five.
So for me, I've had so many experiences over the years, but it was hard to narrow down to five. So some of them are just not there, not like technically like overall top five. It's just moments that resonate well with me. Number five for me is meeting Hayden Christensen. Dude was so humble, really cool. Just the fact that he was like, he genuinely felt excited that you were there to see him. So it was just a really overall great experience for that. Number four for me is a night back in college. My friend and I got drunk at a college party, and we realized that, hey, special editions for A New Hope is playing at the college theater at midnight. Let's get, we're drunk off our asses, and we're like, hey, let's go. And literally the entire movie, we're just sitting there going, oh, they changed this. Oh, they all this stuff that they updated for the special editions back in '97. And it was an absolute blast as we just, being drunk and just talking about everything that got upgraded in the movie. That was a lot of fun to do. So number three for me is actually going to see episode one for the first time. All I'd ever known is Star Wars through Return of the Jedi, video games, books, the god-awful Ewoks movies, and the Ewoks cartoon and the Droids cartoon. But ultimately, having that excitement of seeing Star Wars on the big screen again for the first time in a very, very, very long time, it was something else. It was just to have everybody cheering and everybody clapping and laughing, and it was just so much fun. Especially like that first appearance of Darth Maul. Everybody was just cheering and it was just having a great time. Obviously, so my number two is a little bit different, is when my friend decided to buy out an entire theater so we could all see episode 7, to have that many like-minded Star Wars fans there who were all there just for the pure love of Star Wars. And it being the first Star Wars we'd seen since Revenge of the Sith, and just all of that encompassed into just one evening of just such a fun time, such a great energy in the room, and just being able to share it with people that you actually know rather than just random strangers. It was one of the best experiences I think I've ever had in terms of just going to the movies. And my number one is basically being talked into cosplaying as Yoda for an opening weekend event for Return of the Jedi. And my uncle bought the mask, my mom made the costume, and basically I got to sit there dressed up as Yoda. There was news crews there and everything. My uncle dressed up as Luke Skywalker. He had a really tall friend do Vader. They made their own lightsabers out of like broomsticks, painting them, putting black electrical tape around them for the handles. Cosplaying at its earliest, but it was just the fact that it was one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had. Being a Star Wars fan, and the fact that my love for Star Wars grew even more so after that just speaks volumes to how much that one moment in my life helped me become a lifelong Star Wars fan.
Johnny's probably going to have to speed it through his list. I'm at 7% on my phone. But I will say this really quickly. A couple of things stood out for me there. One, pretty sure Randy said, and Johnny, you might be able to comment on this quickly. Pretty sure Randy said he was in college when the special editions were released. Is that right? Is that what you said?
Yep.
Yeah, Johnny and I were 9.
That was my response when he said that too.
Yeah, Johnny and I were 9. So I often forget the age gap between us, but also, no homo, completely platonic way here. You look pretty good for your age. Like, I often think that you're our age, and the idea that you were in college and we were actually, you know what? We wouldn't even have been 9 when they come out. We would have been 8 going on 9. Wow.
Yep, I am 48 years old.
Wow. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Johnny?
I mean, some of these were ones that you hit on as well, so I'm not going to go too in depth into them. And I will say this: they're not ranked in order of significance or anything like that. I just did 1 through 5, and those were my top 5 moments because I didn't want to take the time to try and rank the memories. So we'll start with the Mayo incident. You mentioned it in yours; it just stands out for me, just from the entire experience. We had a lot of fun back at those. At that point, it would have been Thursday night releases for the new movies. Thankfully, we got away from the midnight release era of our younger days as we've gotten older. The next one, it was the first time playing all the way through Knights of the Old Republic. That story was just so amazing. And again, like we said, this was in an era before social media was really a thing. So if you weren't one of those people who would buy like Prima strategy guides or have a friend who's already beaten it, you wouldn't know the pitfalls and turns in the stories ahead of time. So playing through that the first time through all the way, getting to the reveal that you've been playing Revan the entire time, all of those things just stand out as just an amazing moment for me. The next one is a bit more sentimental. It's the entirety of this podcast run that we've been on, as long as we have, myself and Sean, and in all of the different iterations we've been on since we started this thing all those many years ago. The next one, it's the memory. It's going to Walmart in 1997 to buy the special edition trilogy, and everything that was around that. Going to the store, seeing the cutouts and the standees and all of those things, and buying the box set and coming home and watching them all the way through for the first time, from start to finish, like in sequence. Just all of those. It stands out, such a great moment, and here we are, 30 years later, and it still stands out as significant. And the other one for me, it's something, Sean, you and I did in service of the podcast back then. It was the time we interviewed Mark Thompson. It just stands out as just such a great thing, and getting to talk about someone who is, to a certain degree, the voice of Star Wars. Interviewing him and all that was so great, and hearing his takes on some of his favorite characters that don't get a lot of love. He kind of liked that we ask that question. It's like all of those things, and then getting him to record voice snippets of intros and outros for us. Memory serves, he did Talon, Card, and Thrawn.
Yep, they were the two he did.
So just it was great, just like being there while he did his thing and recorded these intros and outros for us. Goosebumps. It was just so amazing. I loved every part of that. And I guess honorable mention interviewing Timothy Zahn as well, kind of tie that one in there as well. But it was the interviews we did on the podcast back in the day. I love them. They were just so memorable, so much fun. Those are my 5.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, that is going to wrap up our May the 4th special this evening. Really appreciate everybody who came out and spent some time with us. It's definitely the first 2 hour show we've done in quite some time. Without diving too far into things, look, when we did this show, even recently as we started doing it again, the um, the goal was to do 90 minutes to 2 hours every Monday night. But full disclosure, my health has made that very difficult. And honestly, considering how bad I was yesterday, um, I didn't know if I was even going to be on the show tonight. And then with something that happened today that I kind of mentioned in the chat, I was just mentally, having a tough day. But the idea of doing a May the 4th show, how good Maul was, there was people that had some very unrealistic expectations of what to expect for May the 4th today. I probably expected little bit more than what we got, but mine weren't over the moon like some people's. Like, I did not think we were getting a random Luke Skywalker show today without any promotion, especially on an app that really needs the promotion. Um, but it was an enjoyable show. It was fun to be here, and probably my favorite show we've done in quite some time. And we have some big shows coming up. We'll have a full Mando and Grogu preview show and a full review show, and we got House of the Dragon season 2 coming around. And I know Johnny will be on a bit of a hiatus during that time, but there'll be some other people popping in, and there's a lot to come this year, and I'm excited for it all. Johnny V, where can everybody find you at, man?
Here, there, and everywhere.
Randy?
You can find me on X at Giggity Giles. And honestly, I've been taking a break from doing Sports Brew just because it's not the fun time of year for me. But don't let that stop you from checking them out. Go Google Sports and Brew. You'll find the home feed at Podbean, no problem.
I also want to take a moment to wish Dustin, who's not here currently, the best. They've had a newborn, and everything's going a-okay, and we want to wish Tommy B the best, who could have a newborn as early as tomorrow. It'll be soon. If it's not tomorrow, it'll likely be the next day or the day after. It'll be sometime in the next 2 or 3 days. We will have a little version of this running around.
I hope not, unless you're referring to Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy. So congrats to him and Amanda on early congrats, pre-congrats, if you will, on that. And
Congrats while they're still coherent enough to hear it.
Yes, and we hope for a safe delivery, obviously, and wish them nothing but the best. But for Randy and Johnny, I'm Sean, and we will see you next week